Yo, welcome back to the channel. Kamusta po sa inyong lahat? So, question. Is Lynae still a must-have? The current conversation is very simple. Save everything for Hiyuki and Denya, and that's what most players are doing right now. But that logic only looks at the moment you pull those characters, not what your account actually looks like after. And that's where Lynae enters the discussion. Lynae came out not too long ago in version 3.0, so normally you would expect her to just hold her value and then slowly fall off as new units release. And that's how most characters behave in gacha games. But instead, the opposite happened. She didn't stay the same. She actually got better. And it's not because her kit changed, but because the roster around her evolved. With units like Amet and Luke Herson rising into stronger positions, and Hiyuki's arrival, Lynae's role became more important. She isn't just an optional pick anymore, and in some cases, she's the piece that makes those teams actually feel complete. And that matters more than people think. Because when a character becomes best in slot for top performing DPS units, their value doesn't just stay stable, it compounds. Every time a new compatible unit releases, that value goes up again. And that's exactly what is happening with Lynae. Now, let's talk about what Lynae actually does. Because this is where a lot of players underestimate her. She is not just contributing damage, she is stacking multiple layers of amplification at the same time. Liberation damage goes up. Overall, team damage goes up. Attack gets boosted. She adds meaningful tune break value. And on top of that, she still contributes her own personal damage. So you're not just adding another unit into your rotation. You're multiplying the output of everything that is already there. And most of these buffs are not locked into a single team archetype. They are broadly useful, which is why she keeps fitting into more and more comps as the game expands. This is also why her value feels different compared to a typical sub DPS. Most sub DPS units add damage and some specific amplification. Lynae, meanwhile, amplifies overall damage, and that distinction is important because amplification scales harder the stronger your main carry becomes. Which brings us to Hiyuki. We still don't have full confirmation on her final kit, but the current direction strongly suggests interaction with tune strain mechanics, which is a system Lynae already supports. So there is a very real scenario where Lynae could end up being one of Hiyuki's best partners on release. And if that happens, skipping Lynae now to guarantee Hiyuki later doesn't actually put you ahead. It just means your Hiyuki team starts off weaker than it could be until her best in slot support arrives. And that's the trade-off people are not really talking about. Lucilla isn't even confirmed for version 3.4 yet, and for all we know, she could end up being very different from what everyone is currently expecting. Now, to be clear, Lynae is not just a future investment. She is already performing right now. Her rotation is fast, clean, and efficient. You bring her, apply buffs, deal damage, and rotate out without disrupting your main carry. There is no awkward downtime and no unnecessary complexity. And that kind of smooth execution matters more than people give it credit for, especially in content where timing and consistency decides your clear speed. Now, let's address the weapon question, because this is where resource management becomes real. Lynae's signature weapon is strong. It gives her solid stats and, more importantly, adds a team-wide damage boost. And that kind of effect is always high value because it scales with your entire roster. But is it necessary? No. There are accessible alternatives that perform well enough to keep her effective. While this does come with a small loss in team-wide amplification compared to her signature, it doesn't downgrade her core identity. She still provides buffs, contributes solid personal damage, and continues to fit comfortably into the same team compositions. I'm currently using the homogenizer from the standard banner, which performs quite well with her in practice. Others use Static Mist as a more support oriented option, as it adds additional team wide buffing utility. And this is a big part of why she feels so safe as a pull because her investment requirement is not as high to function well. So, should you actually pull Lynae? If you are already running Ameth, the answer leans strongly towards yes, especially if you prefer tune rupture setups where uptime, consistency, and amplification matters more than raw burst windows. Without Lynae, that team still functions at a baseline level, but it does not reach its full potential ceiling. With her included, everything becomes more efficient, more synchronized, and noticeably stronger across an entire rotation cycle. And if you are using Luke, the same logic applies. She smooths out his damage curve, improves overall consistency, and reduces the awkward gaps where output typically falls off. And the result is a much cleaner rotation. The team simply feels better to play, not just stronger on paper, but more stable in actual execution. If you are planning to pull Hiyuki, this is where things get more strategic and forward looking. You are no longer just evaluating a single character in isolation, but how that decision affects your entire future team structure. And you are not just deciding between characters. What you are deciding on is whether to invest in a support that could directly elevate that future unit immediately, potentially shaping how strong and complete that comp feels on day one. And that kind of forward planning is what separates a good account from a great one in the long run. Lynae's value comes from how universally she can slot into most DPS teams as a support. She won't work with absolutely everyone, but she fits a wide enough range that the impact is immediately noticeable. Pair her with units like Augusta, Carlotta, or Camellia, and you see the difference right away. However, if your expectation is a character who can hard carry on her own, you need to adjust your thinking. Lynae does not replace a dedicated DPS. This ultimately becomes a choice between a universal amplifier and a more specialized damage dealer, between long-term account value and short-term power spikes. From experience, great supports tend to have a much longer shelf life compared to DPS units, which get replaced far more quickly. If you really like Hiyuki, then by all means go for her. If you manage to get Lynae in the process, even better. But if your focus is long-term account building, Lynae stands out as a definitive, reliable pick that you want to secure now. Because at the end of the day, your account does not collapse if you skip Lynae. You can still pull Hiyuki or Denya and remain competitive. But if you do get Lynae, you are not just adding a character, you are upgrading everything around her. And that is why this decision is not as simple as it looks. You are not choosing between present and future, you are choosing how strong your future actually becomes. As always, if this video resonated with you, please leave a like and subscribe, ring that bell for massive gotcha luck and maybe a sandwich. Thank you so much for watching, maraming salamat po, and I will see you in my next video drop. Goodbye.